You know, your past has the capacity to actually derail or discourage you from plugging into God's agenda for your leadership. So it's important for you as a leader to pay attention to your past, whether it is good, bad, or ugly, whether it is clean or whether it is full of skeletons in the closet. It is important that you pay attention to your leadership past. God appears to a leader, invites him to engage in national office. His name is Gideon. By the time God appears in Gideon's life, in Judges chapter 6, the background to this is an oppression that lasted about 7 years. The Bible tells us that the Midianites had so impoverished Israel for about 7 years. They would descend over their land and territory, particularly during harvest season. They would descend upon them like a huge swarm of locusts, and they would devour anything that was in its path and leave a trail of destruction in their wake. And God appears to Gideon and finds him threshing wheat in his father's winepress. And God calls him out as a mighty man of valor. And Gideon was startled by this kind of description because he was actually timid. And he turns to God and asks God, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. You see, Israel history was checkered. You just needed to sit around the fireplace and allow an elderly person to narrate to you the history, the way God had delivered them powerfully from Egypt after 430 years of oppression. How God, through a powerful outstretched arm, miracle after miracle, delivered them through, brought them through the Red Sea, and how he took them through the desert territory, and how God finally blessed them with this beautiful country, Canaan, and how he fought their battles. Theirs was a very rich history. But by the time God appears to Gideon, his past was full of disappointment. And he was not ready to step up to the plate to provide leadership because his past was weighing heavy on him. What does your past look like? What does it look like? I came to encourage you this day that if you're going to plug into God's agenda for your leadership, you must be willing to surrender your past to God. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Then you begin to see God speak into it. Then you begin to see God leading you in amazing ways because we all have a past. And good news for you, God is not intimidated by our past, whether it is good, bad, or ugly. He can handle our past. I think of great men and women that God has used throughout biblical history. They are men who had quite a past. Think of the Apostle Paul. He was a former persecutor and a former murderer. If he had applied to a church committee to be considered as a missionary, he probably would have failed the test because his past was ugly. The church didn't want to associate with his past. Yet God picked him up and he told Ananias, that is my chosen instrument on his way to Damascus. So it doesn't matter what your past looks like. I invite you this day to surrender your past because that is where it begins. Allow God to clean your past. Allow him to make sense of the mess that was your past and allow you to begin to serve him in that leadership space. Surrender your past to God. The Lord bless you richly. My name is Patrick Kuchio from CITAM Church Online. Have a great week in his presence. Amen.